During my time in consulting at McKinsey, I learned a technique that allows me to solve whatever business problem I might face. And the great thing is this is not specific to consulting. You can use it in other business contexts as well. And this is exactly the technique I will teach you in this video, and it's called hypothesis-based problem solving. So let's zone in. I trust this will be crucial and fundamental for your professional development. And to start, let's immerse ourselves into typical business situations that you might find. And you might or might not have already heard about this concept of the VUCA environment. VUCA is coming originally from the military. It describes a situation that you might face as a general at war. So let's picture the situation behind you or in front of you, actually, the enemy lines. It's a fog of war around you. You don't really know what's going on. The situation is volatile. What was true yesterday might not be true tomorrow anymore. It's uncertain. You do not know for sure how your actions will unfold, what the results of that will be. It's complex, lots of information that you need to digest, and it's ambiguous. You might have different advisors. Everybody is telling you something else. What's now the right thing to do? And the business school take on this is that actually as a manager, as a consultant, as a professional, you are faced with very similar situations in business that you need to deal with. And this is exactly where hypothesis-based problem solving, hypothesis-based thinking is coming in helpful. And so again, what are the situations that we are facing in business? Often it is VUCA. We need to come up with solutions under time pressure. We don't have unlimited time, but within 1 week, within 2 weeks, you're expected to present your results in front of your management. And this, of course, by itself leads to better done than perfect. Sometimes you cannot approach it like an academic who has now 2 or 3 years to find the perfect solution, the perfect answer. But you need to come up with an answer that is at least defendable, that is good enough. And you might need to do that with limited resources, limited budget, limited personnel resources, and of course all of this maybe also dealing with internal political situations. And in these situations, hypothesis-based thinking, hypothesis-based problem solving is key. And so let's look at what this is all about. In business, often you might face a problem that you want to solve, and you need to get from problem to solution. And some of these building blocks from problem to solution might already be known to you. These are the facts. These are the things you are already aware of. But of course, there are gaps. There are things that are not clear to you yet. And one of the main ideas of hypothesis-based problem solving is that to get started, you just fill these gaps with hypotheses, with your best understanding, with your day one answer of what the result looks like. A day one answer. And this is indeed a term that you will hear frequently when working with this type of technique, where essentially you are asked initially at the start of this project, of this initiative, to already come up with your best educated guess what the solution might look like. And this is now your starting point, and this allows you to now in a very targeted way actually validate this day one answer, to understand if this is actually accurate or not. And so let's look at how this might unfold. So let's say you are working for a cryptocurrency service provider. You're working for a company that is now launching a new cryptocurrency payment solution, and you are wondering what actually the best market is to launch this service to. And your day one answer is that the country A is actually the best country, the best region that you want to use this for due to 3 reasons. And these are now your hypotheses. First, you hypothesize that country A actually has the largest market size. Second, you hypothesize that the population in this country A is most affine to cryptocurrency. And third, you hypothesize that based on that, actually your offering is most attractive in this country, maybe comparing it to some other competing offerings, competing services that competitors might be launching. And now, of course, you need to analyze this. You need to find out, is this actually the case or not? And so now, of course, you need to pull the numbers, you need to carry out the work, you need to pull the data. And now let's look at the results after you did the analysis. And the result is that indeed you are able to validate that country A has the largest market size. Maybe here country A also has the highest mobile payment quota, and you're using this as a proxy to approximate cryptocurrency affinity. And you also did some consumer research. Though here actually you now found out that your solution is not the most attractive. There is another alternative in this market that, based on some scoring that you conducted, has even higher preferability scores for the consumers. And so essentially you're able to validate the first hypothesis regarding the market size. You're able to validate the second hypothesis regarding the affinity to now cryptocurrency or maybe mobile payment in this example. But you are not able to validate the hypothesis regarding the attractiveness of this offering. And this is now where the iterative nature of this hypothesis-based problem-solving process comes into play, because very often now this leads to follow-up questions. You now need to better understand this. Given that now your offering is not the most attractive, can you still uphold your recommendation to go with country A? Are there maybe other things you now need to look at, additional questions that you now need to answer to now come up with this result? If you are interested to learn more about techniques like this to enhance your professional abilities and fast track your next promotion, this is exactly what we developed the Firm Learning Mentoring Program for. Problem solving is of course only one of many different skill areas that we teach you, also far more detail of course than what we're covering here in videos like this. So if you're interested in that, there's a link in the video description where you can sign up for a free consultation where you can review your personal situation with an experienced mentor of our program. We are, by the way, also offering corporate trainings. So if you want to train your team with skills like this, very interested to talk with you, also myself as well, to discuss how we can support you. Would be my pleasure to host such a program for yourself individually in the mentoring or for the team as well. Let's now continue with the video. And this whole analysis process often is done based on work plans. A work plan like this. And this is indeed a structure that I worked very frequently with consulting. And so let's look at how exactly this works. And so let's say here a separate example. Let's say you are working with a client, or maybe also internally in your organization, where this client is facing early stage churn. So you're acquiring customers, but early stage, very quickly, they actually cancel. And this might be a software business where then the subscription, for instance, of this client is canceled. In your day one answer, your first hypothesis is that a redesign and strengthening of the onboarding process would reduce early stage customer churn. And so you can ask yourself, what would need to be true? What would you need to prove correct for this day one answer to actually be correct? And so let's look at the first hypothesis here. And this hypothesis might be that a customer who churns within the first month has lower onboarding completion rates, right? So if there's maybe an onboarding, maybe in the software, and this onboarding was not completed, then the customer is more likely to churn. And so you need to now ask yourself, well, what is actually an analysis that you can carry out to understand if this hypothesis is accurate or not? And now you could, for instance, now segment the different customers to the degree by which they have completed the onboarding or not, and then correlate that against the completion of this onboarding. And based on that, you can then validate this hypothesis and understand if this day one answer is true or not. And you see some additional hypotheses here that you might want to validate in the very same spirit. And so let's put it all back together. How does this work? So you start with the project objective. Of course, you want to understand what the problem is that you actually need to solve. Then you create this day one answer, this first set of hypotheses that you come up with to understand this. And then following from these hypotheses, you then formulate questions, analysis questions, specific things that you now need to find out to understand if your hypotheses are accurate or not. And now you go bottom up. You conduct these analyses. You then have, of course, the answers to these questions, the facts. And based on that, you know which hypotheses were accurate or not. And then based on that, you need to reflect, can you actually still uphold this day one answer or not? And very often you need to now iterate. After you found out that maybe some hypotheses turned out to be not accurate, you might need to now formulate new questions, new analyses, get new results, and then iterate your day one answer based on that. So this is one of the most fundamental problem-solving processes that is applied by all the large strategy consulting firms like McKinsey, BCG, and Bain. Hope this served helpful for you as well. Let me know in the comments what you think about that. Please like if you took value out of this, and subscribe if you want to hear more career advice like this. Big thanks to all the channel members. Looking forward to work with you very soon again.